The following episode of the Comics and Crypto podcast is for informational purposes only, and anything expressed by the hosts or their guests is solely their opinion. This podcast does not constitute financial advice, and anyone wishing to invest should seek their own independent financial or professional help. Have fun and enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Sean O'Hare, and I know comics.
Hi, I'm Spencer Vogel, and I know crypto.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lee Loader, and I don't know shit. This is the Comics and Crypto podcast.
Comics and crypto, crypto and comics, collectors world in a digital age. Comics and crypto, crypto and comics, it's where the next billionaires will be rich. Comics and crypto.
On this episode, we have a very special guest, the content manager of Rally, a fractional collectible ownership company that sources the world's rarest, most unique, one-of-one assets. And make sure to stay till the end for an incredible giveaway. Please welcome to the podcast, Will Stern. Will, hey!
What's up, Sean? How's it going? What's up, Spencer?
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor.
Yeah, thanks for coming on today. I actually saw your tweet earlier. You just made a purchase on a VHS. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, the only one I've ever, it's like, I think it's literally a VGA 50 of Harry Potter Sorcerer's Stone.
Oh, cool.
I saw it with like 10 minutes before extended bidding, and I'm like, I'm going to be sitting here and I'm going to bid up until I win no matter what, because I have to own this.
Are you a huge Harry Potter fan?
Love Harry Potter.
That's
Absolutely
awesome.
love it.
My girlfriend actually is a huge Harry Potter fan, and that was my gift to her last year. I think I got her for Christmas. I got her a Harry Potter. It was a Canadian version, so I think yours was Canadian or European as well, because it said Philosopher's Stone on it. Did it, or said Sorcerers?
It was no, it was Sorcerers, I think.
That's cool. Yeah, because it says Sorcerers on the American version.
Everything about the one that I bought was bad. It was like late print, poor condition, except it was sealed. That's all I knew.
It's all about nostalgia. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Exactly.
That actually ties us into our first question. Are you a collector? What was the first thing that you did collect, if you are?
I would definitely say that yes, I am a collector. I think everyone here at Rally is infected by the collecting gene or bug.
Yeah, if they weren't, they are now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what happened to me, as I'm sure we'll get to. But I guess, like, looking back on it, I was a collector, maybe, subconsciously. But I had baseball cards. I had kind of the normal stuff, but there was no intention behind it. I just liked having stuff. I'd keep, I remember when Derek Jeter retired, I kept his, like, I took out like the cover of his magazine, the ESPN magazine that said Jeter was retiring, and I like pasted it to my wall. My mom got mad at me because I like used glue. I think the only thing that I really collected, in the sense that we talk about today, with everyone really being intentional about it, box set Simpsons DVDs.
Really?
Every season.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I used to get one for my birthday every year, and
Cool.
then I had like 6, and I was like, I'm gonna buy all the rest of them, and then that was all my money.
It might go long enough where it might not make it anymore by the time The Simpsons ends.
True.
Yeah,
Which is kind
I
of crazy to
do-
think about.
I do think I'm probably about 10 seasons behind at this point, but at one point I had all of them.
I actually just saw a Simpsons Emmy Award screener on eBay. I think it might still actually be up. That was pretty cool. Yeah, definitely take a look on eBay right now if that's something you might be interested in. It was sealed.
I gotta go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back.
It's on my watch list.
And bought.
I'll send you the
my,
link.
my eBay watch list is like, it's a murder scene. It's just,
Oh, yeah. The sign of a true collector.
And we were talking to Eric Whiteback about that, and he was saying that he's so crazy about it. He's got 3 different accounts because he knows that the max is 300 per account, and he has multiple accounts, so he can have more. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
His mornings must be insane. If he does the email notifications, it must be crazy. Like, spend an hour every day just seeing what's I look forward to those emails. I'm excited to see in the morning, to
best.
see what you get in the morning, the notifications, especially things that he mentioned, something you put on there, you haven't seen it in almost 6 months, but something pops up and there it is. Sure enough, your patience paid off, and nobody else is probably looking for it. That's really cool.
Yep.
exactly.
For a lot of our audience, just in case if they're not familiar with Rally, can you give us a breakdown?
Yeah, for sure. So Rally was founded in around 2016, 2017. And we started just with classic cars. 3 co-founders, Max, Chris, and Rob. And the idea was basically a really large contingency of high net worth individuals that have been investing in things like classic cars, art, what have you, as a true investment. And the price to get into that is 100,000, 500,000, million, whatever it may be. And the normal person can't get in. They launched the company just with cars, and it's now become a stock market for tangible pieces of culture. Dozens of asset classes, from classic cars, we've got art, we've got the literal Declaration of Independence. That's not a mistake. That's literally a fact, right? We've got a Honus Wagner TTO6 card, plenty of video games. We set the world record for $2 million Super Mario Brothers. And all those assets, there's around 400 at the moment, give or take. They trade every day, during market hours, just like the stock market. It's really like, instead of going into pick your favorite brokerage account or whatever, where you might be trading, GameStop and Nike or whatever, you're going into Rally's app and trading shares in the Pokemon card you want and a rare bottle of whiskey. And it's a way to bring that accessibility that these wealthy individuals have had for a very long time. And you get to own a piece of something that matters to you, right? At its core, what it is.
I love that you guys are more or less just democratizing investment into these really, really exclusive asset classes that normally people wouldn't be able to have access to, which I just think is super, super exciting. Like I would love to, own a piece of something like that. And, eventually one day, maybe if all of our collecting really goes well and, we could sell a couple of things, maybe we could own a Honus Wagner card or a card of our own. But in the meantime, so cool to be able to own just a little piece of it.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said the D word and I didn't. Democratization, because it gets so watered down, but it's so true. It is definitionally, that's what we're doing. But I'm always hesitant to say it because I feel it feels like a buzzword. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but that is what we're doing. Yeah, spot on there.
Yeah, so you mentioned like a ton of different collectibles categories that you've had. So like classic cars, and just looking at the website, like watches, alcohol, sneakers. You mentioned the Declaration of Independence. I even saw like dinosaur fossils. Like it's just insane the variety that you guys have on there. So I guess my question is, how do you guys source your offerings and decide what to and what not to list on the platform?
In all these different spaces that we're in, we have connections and relationships with the most knowledgeable people. And that's not only like kind of in the academic sense of like having an encyclopedic knowledge of a specific asset class, but also the people who know where the good stuff is, right? Like the stuff that's not necessarily at auction, but they know, oh no, my buddy in Denver, he's got this. He might be willing to sell. And then the conversation starts, right? It often starts there. And we also get plenty of just people know us in the space and send us a million things and say, you want to buy this, right? So there's also that as a stream of inventory. And then we look at it. We have a team that evaluates it. We have pretty strict and thorough underwriting standards that ensure that we're basing it on real historical returns and everything. And then if everything lines up and it meets our underwriting standards, it meets something that Rally's audience would be interested in, something that's culturally relevant and all that, then we IPO it. And by the way, I haven't said this yet. None of this is investment advice. No investment advice. Never. Nothing. I know nothing.
Don't worry. We put that standard on all our videos, so you're good. You're covered.
in our text in the beginning and and throughout.
So what are you seeing as some of like the up and coming collectibles categories right now that people are just starting to get excited about?
It's such a fun conversation because like there's a few pieces of it, right? There are some components of it where you're talking to someone about that and they've got their agenda, right? It's like, they've got let's use VHSs as an example, because I just bought my first last night. They're talking it up because they've got 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can, the different ways the conversation goes is always funny. But to me, I mean, we saw tickets have their moment. Not that they're gone away. I think tickets are just really cool. And just a really fun way to own. It's like owning a memory, right? We've seen the kind of burst of sealed iPhone sales. Rally has a sealed
Big
iPod.
time.
Vintage tech is really cool.
Super cool, especially Apple.
Apple stuff. I mean, there's so many amazing pieces of Apple history. There was a check signed by Steve Jobs, like one of the first checks, and it's like the address on it is the Apple garage that they founded.
Oh,
that's so
wow.
cool.
In.
That's
Wow.
Sold at our
amazing.
auctions
Yeah.
a couple months ago. There's just a million things, but something that I wouldn't call this an up and coming asset class, because I don't even think there's like buzz around it, but I just love it, is like encapsulated relics. Like I bought a swatch of Ringo Starr's bed sheet.
Oh, cool.
It's weird. It's the weirdest thing in the world, right? But like stuff like that. I mean, there's a place called University Archives. They do an amazing job of like, they'll encapsulate and authenticate like a piece of curtain from Ford Theater the night that Lincoln was assassinated, things like that. I got a piece of JFK's sweater that just came. That's in the office right now.
Wow.
I like really weird stuff. If you can't tell, I like the weird collectibles.
Hey, nothing weird about that.
I want to know the weird stuff that Ringo Starr did in those bed sheets.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's weird. It's got like the guy who like ran the hotel. He wrote like a provenance letter. He was like, yeah, as soon as they left, I ran up there and I took the sheets and whatever. It's like, all right, that's a really forward thinking move of you. But I do have a normal answer, or more normal, which is I love tennis cards. That's my big thing.
Oh, sick.
Cool.
Huge Serena collection. We've got one on Rally that at the time that we IPO'd, it was the most valuable female sports card of all time, but then it was subsequently beat by like 5 other Serena cards. The top 10 sales for female athletes, I think, are all Serena at this point.
Wow. That's
awesome.
incredible.
Did you I think there was didn't Serena do on DraftKings one like the autograph drops?
No, it wasn't Serena. It was a younger tennis player.
It was somebody else. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen those though, but if you're into collecting tennis
I think she's
collectibles, there was-
Japanese.
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Osaka.
Osaka.
Mhm.
That's who it was.
Osaka.
Yeah.
Osaka. Yeah.
She's American. Yeah,
She did a launch though, yeah, on DraftKings at this point,
Yeah.
like almost like 2 years ago or something like that.
All right, adding that to my list.
Yeah, and it's cool. They
Gotta look.
they're partnered with a company called Autograph that does basically
Oh,
like
great. Okay.
certified digital autographs. So like
Super cool.
when you see an autograph on one of those NFTs, she actually signed it on a with a stylus on an iPad or whatever it is. But that's actually her individual signature, and it's like I think unique for each one.
Yeah, that is a concept.
Super cool concept. We're really
Yeah.
bullish on that.
That's taking the physical digital bridge to the extreme. That's one of the more interesting ones I've heard, I think.
Yeah. And what's great about it too is accessibility. I mean, people could send their collectible anywhere in the world and send it to like, Tom Brady, and he could sign it and they could send it back halfway across the world where people can't travel and meet him in person. So it just creates more opportunity. In person is always going to dominate, but this creates additional opportunity, and it just helps the entire collectible market grow.
Oh.
People get excited about that kind of stuff, and I think it's going to really catch on in a big way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a cliche, but like, I don't know if there's any industry where it's more true that a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
I mean, the cross-pollinating that we see on Rally, right? Like, you might come here because we had the Batman #1 CGC 8.0, right? So you invest in an IPO, and then you're looking around and you see first edition Great Gatsby, huh? I remember that in school. That's pretty cool. That's nostalgic for me. I might get into that. And all of a sudden you're a rare book guy, right? So we've seen that a lot just on Rally and in the entire industry. I think that effect is extremely powerful.
Is Harry Potter on there?
Yeah, we've got one of the 500 first edition copies, and we've got
Cool.
one of them. Yeah.
How much is it per share?
At the moment, I couldn't tell you.
As a Harry Potter fan, I'm very disappointed.
You know, I'm looking at we have a scrolling ticker
Yeah.
thing like
Oh,
the stock
nice.
market.
Oh,
in our
like the stock
office.
market?
Yeah.
Like
So
your
if
Wall
that
Street? That's so
if
cool.
if Potter comes by, I'll make sure to let you know.
Yeah,
But,
nice, nice.
to the top of my head, it's tough to keep the current trading price of all 400 assets every day in my head. I
Yeah.
do my best, but you know.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned that they only trade during trading hours. It's not a 24/7 market.
I think I briefly mentioned this, but we securitize these
Mm-hmm.
assets through the SEC. Everything is like above board, like
Sure.
you know, on the SEC's website, literally, like the files that we have to fill out. So they're securities and they trade like stocks, right? So
Yeah.
market hours, just like the stock
So
market.
cool.
Gotcha.
And then
Yeah.
after hours, you can place bids and asks to be executed at the next
Yeah, when the market opens the
opening
next
bell.
morning. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's really like when I'm explaining it to people, I'm like, just think about the stock market. It's a lot like that.
Which collectible have you seen the biggest growth in value?
The Declaration of Independence more than doubled in like a year and a half or 2 years.
Wow.
And we've got some smaller market cap assets, like we've got the rare 35-cent variant of Star Wars #1. And that's up. I'm not going to say a number because I don't know off the top of my head, but that might be up even more than the Declaration. That one's been shooting up for a while.
Do you have the Mickey Mantle rookie card?
Yeah. So we not only do we have so we have the 52 tops mantle, the classic the Mona Lisa, right? It's an SGC 7, and what's really cool about that is that we actually did a stock split on that card. So it was trading at I believe $336 a share or $360 a share, and we split it in 10 and shares became 36. It's like, wow, we just did a stock split on a baseball card.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I can only imagine what's going to happen to those shares if one of those 10 sell. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh. $30+ million. That's the estimate for the 10. There's only 3 10 graded 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle rookie cards. And apparently a lot of people we respect have estimated that thing's going to sell for over $30 million the next time it hits the market. That's crazy.
Yeah. There's a lot of, you can in vintage baseball cards, there's same thing in video games, comics. There's a lot of kind of like grails with this mystique about it, where everyone knows it's out there, but it doesn't surface, and then everyone's just kind of waiting.
Yeah.
I feel like the mantle PSA 10s fit under those, and like that. Some of the really rare hang tab variant of the NES games. It's just a really funny kind of conversation when everyone's like, okay, sure, this is the best now, but when this next copy comes to auction, just wait. It's
Yeah. Did we talk about VHS tapes potentially coming on there?
Is Rally interested in VHS? I mean, so really, like, Rally's kind of the way that we go about acquiring assets and entering into a new space. Obviously, passing everything I mentioned before, the underwriting standards, and is our audience interested? But also, we want the best of the best. So, like, we've been offered plenty of VHS tapes, but it hasn't been the right one. Maybe one day we'll be offered the best of the best, or we'll decide we want to go after it, and that'll happen. Like, for example, we said we want to get into concert posters, right? So we got a CGC 9.6 Grateful Dead Skeleton and Roses. Like, it's the Honus Wagner concert posters. A comparable copy had like just set the record for the most valuable concert poster, and it's like that's a perfect example of us saying, all right, new asset class, what's the best you got? What's the most kind of storied piece of memorabilia or tangible piece of history that we can get our users and our community involved in.
You guys got to buy Nuki. You saw that video, right?
Yeah.
I was watching that auction.
Yeah. Oh yeah, us too.
So good.
There was like a 10-minute gap where I saw it on eBay, but I didn't know the story.
Mm.
And I was like texting people and I'm like, is this like am I misinformed? Did I miss a day of class or something? Like, what's the deal here? And then I saw like the story of the, it's for charity and everything, but I was very confused.
Yeah.
For our listeners out there, if you don't know the story of Nucleus, I strongly suggest go on YouTube, search the word Nukie. It's this really bad sci-fi B film that came out in I think the 80s or 90s, and there were only a limited amount of VHS tapes that were released, and for this film, and a group of content creators, YouTube content creators, have been collecting these VHS tapes for quite some time, and they decided to destroy their entire collection of like 70 to 100 of these VHS tapes and sell the one sealed one, got it graded, and they sold it publicly at an eBay auction, and they donated all the proceeds to charity. And it reached like I think almost $70,000. But that's amazing how they created artificial scarcity. They created scarcity on this item and they hyped this item.
One of my favorite topics. Artificial scarcity.
So what about artificial scarcity fascinates you?
Natural scarcity and artificial scarcity, and looking at the difference and the way people value it, right? With natural scarcity, you've got stories, and that's what differentiates it in my mind. There's around 60 Honus Wagner to 206 cards, right? Let's say you've got a Patrick Mahomes numbered to 60. There's 60 of both of these things, but the story of the Honus card, people write books about. The story about how a Patrick Mahomes card got numbered to 60 is not very interesting. We can go through all the great, them dumping the 52 Topps mantle cases in the river and things like video games and iPhones, things that are meant to be opened that somehow remain sealed, right? That's another
Games,
way, right?
VHS tapes. Yeah.
VHS tapes, right? It's like people did the thing they're not supposed to do, and that's why there's only a few left. And that's what I think is so cool, right? Like, imagine buying an iPhone and not opening it. Who's doing this? How is that?
And why? Why would you do that?
It's 2007. You would have been the coolest person. I mean, I can't even.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, imagine resisting like the best technology that has ever entered the earth. And just being like, I'm gonna leave this sealed. I'll put it on my shelf.
I mean, especially like video games. It's like you buy a video game to play it. Like you're not just gonna like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah,
100%. And they were expensive. They cost $60 back in the 90s. They cost the same amount of money as they do today. 30 years later, 30 years later, same amount of money, $60 in retail. And VHS tapes, when they first came out, they were like $60, $70, $80 too in the early 80s, mid 80s. And even later in
inflation,
the early
90s.
Like
$100 plus.
Talking about inflation, I mean, our Super Mario Brothers sold for $2 million. So
yeah.
From $60 maybe originally.
Yeah.
That's why we believe there are a lot less out there than people think. They produced, I think, 12 million Super Mario World games for N64, but how many are really still out there? Probably not many.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the New York Times has written about, I mean, like they wrote about Rally's record sale of the Mario, right? Like the New York Times has written about video games, collecting sealed video games. It's been in the popular press. People who have sealed video games that would be of value would probably have come out of the woodwork by now, at least if we're talking about like the real high end. It's tough to imagine all of a sudden like, a matte sticker seal Mario Brothers just coming out of the woodwork and going 9.8 A++. It doesn't feel like it's
but somewhere out there though there's probably some storage locker that hasn't been opened in 20 years.
Factory seal.
I'll be wrong.
Totally.
I'll be 100% wrong. But logically I feel right at the moment.
Last year Rally released The Future is History NFT collection. Can you tell us a little bit more about that collection?
The Future is History is it's an NFT collection that's based around 15 historical figures: Newton and Cleopatra and George Washington, right? The heavy hitters. And the art is done by Keenan Wells, an incredibly talented artist. He goes by Pixel Hall of Fame on social media. We did 350 of them, and ownership of one of these NFTs has a bunch of real life perks. The first of which, actually, as we're recording this, is kind of going on, which is that anyone who owns an NFT is able to do a claim of a card pack, physical card pack. So you get it shipped to you. And we have relics in there. So like there's an Amelia Earhart relic where embedded in the card is a piece of the plane that she flew to become the first female pilot across the Atlantic. Like just amazing stuff, right? And that is people are able to actually get those graded by SGC. So that's just the first part. Going forward and coming up soon, I think by the time people are listening to this, we'll have just concluded it, but there'll be a sort of token gating for our offerings, where the first one we're doing is a check signed by Lincoln in 1860 rather, paying for like his telegraph bill. He's a huge telegraph guy. Loved the telegraph. And people who own an NFT in the collection are given not only priority access, but a certain amount of free shares on Rally. We have multiple assets lined up, like 1984, the first edition book, and a lot of stuff I can't reveal yet, but things that will be run in a similar fashion, where NFT holders are going to be given not only priority, but kind of some freebies.
Cool. So it's almost like you're like earning dividends for owning the NFT.
Yeah, that's
I mean, if we're equating this stuff to the stock market anyway, you might as well throw that in.
Yeah. And I should also mention, so we're just on the cusp of opening up our museum in Soho here in New York. It's gonna have not all of our assets. All of our assets will be there at various times, but there'll be you'll walk in, there'll be a Lamborghini to your right, there'll be a Triceratops skull, and then there'll be the Declaration of Independence to your left, and it's going to be incredible. And there'll be exclusive events for NFT holders as well, and that's going to be really exciting, because talking about bridging the physical digital divide, like I don't think that you could come up with something that typifies that more than buying an NFT that allows you to walk into a museum like we're building and experience that.
That's so cool.
That's incredibly special.
All right, going to OpenSea right now.
And this is probably a good time to announce our giveaway.
Yeah. So the giveaway we will be doing is an NFT from this collection, The Future is History. It's the character's Abe Lincoln. He's got some pretty special traits, some pretty sweet sunglasses. It'll allow the owner to engage in everything that we've just talked about, right? Including redeeming a card pack, which there's still a few relics out there. I think I've seen 3 or 4 that have popped up on social media. Everyone's posting their hits. If you go to the Rally Twitter, you scroll down, you'll just see people freaking out about, like, oh my god, I got a George Washington gold refractor out of 10. Oh my god. Which by the way, that impersonation was of myself, because I did get a George Washington out of 10.
That's epic.
But anyway, yeah, so super exciting to be doing a giveaway with your community, especially because the audience understands this whole concept and what we're all trying to do here. So getting the community involved is going to be really fun. And yeah, I mean, I encourage everyone to check it out and check out the Rally app too, because both of those things are cool.
And that giveaway is officially launched, so make sure to go to our Twitter account. It'll be the tweet pinned to our profile, and make sure to follow Rally Road, and we'll make sure to include their links down in the details below, including the website. And Will, thanks so much for coming on today, man. It was a blast.
It's been so fun.
Oh, it's so much fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks again for joining, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one.